At a depth of 92 meters, they switched from air to mixed gas as planned and continued their descent. At a depth of 183 meters, visibility suddenly dropped, and the surroundings were eerily silent, with only the sound of their breathing and water flow. At this depth, divers can easily become disoriented and must closely follow the guide rope to maintain the correct direction. At depths above 20 meters, visibility had already dropped to almost zero. Even though they were only 9 meters apart, they couldn't see each other at all, let alone provide any assistance. When descending to a depth of 268 meters, Jim checked his gas pressure and found it was only 10 psi, far below the expected 180 psi. He realized that his gas consumption was much faster than planned and had to immediately abort the dive. At a depth of 276 meters, Jim stopped descending and began to ascend. It's worth mentioning that he didn't know Shek's situation at the time, only that if he didn't ascend soon, he wouldn't have enough gas to return to the surface. He needed to perform decompression for over 9 hours at various depths, and when he reached a depth of 147 meters, he succeeded as planned. He switched to the first decompression bottle and did a decompression stop for about 15 minutes. During the decompression process, Jim had plenty of time to observe Shek's guide rope next to him. He noticed that all the decompression bottles on Shek's guide rope remained in their original, unused state. This meant that Shek had never ascended to these depths. Meanwhile, the surface team was horrified to discover that 18 minutes after the dive began, the bubbles on Shek's guide rope had completely disappeared. This was an extremely ominous sign because, during a normal dive, a diver continuously exhales bubbles. Karen and Anne immediately dived to 76 meters, only to find Jim decompressing. Karen immediately surfaced to inform Shek's wife, Mary. Without any hesitation, Mary immediately put on her diving gear and dove into the water. She met Jim and Anne at a depth of 40 meters. She quickly wrote on an underwater slate, "I am going to dive to 85 meters to look for bubbles." Then, without looking back, she followed Shek's guide rope downstream. He continued to dive to 85 meters.